understand that, we better make some changes in terms of the things that we do. We better look at every aspect of it, schematics, personnel, approach to business. I'm committed to that. I'm also committed to not sitting in this position, feeling the way that we feel right now as we move forward.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. I'm Missi Matthews. That was Coach Tomlin's season-ending press conference, and the changes have already started to happen. We're going to get to those in just a minute. I do want to introduce you to our panel today. Bob Labriola of Steelers.com and Steelers Digest is here, along with Mike Prisuta from the DVE Morning Show, and also former Steelers offensive lineman and of the DVE radio broadcast, Craig Wolfley. And guys, I will quickly go over some of the moves that were made today. The Steelers have announced they have not renewed the contracts of 3 coaches: offensive coordinator Randy Fichtner, offensive line coach Sean Surratt, and defensive backs coach Tom Bradley. Coach Tomlin released this statement through the PR department saying, "I want to thank all 3 of the coaches for their commitment and dedication to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have all played integral roles in our success, and I am appreciative of their efforts. Personally, Randy and I have been in Pittsburgh since I hired him in 2007, but our relationship began well before that. He has been a friend of mine for years and wish his family nothing but the best, and I am eternally grateful for our relationship both on and off the field." There was also the Steelers announcing today the retirement of their longtime tight ends coach, James Daniel. He was originally hired by Bill Cowher. He has spent 17 seasons in that position with the Steelers. So hoping the best for James Daniel as he goes on to his life's work, whatever the next chapter may be for him. So Labs, it's not just coaches though too. It is the list of free agency. And we know that this is the part of the drill that happens when the season ends and you get ready for the draft, but free agency comes first. And when you look at the screen here, there is a large number of players on here, and a lot of them are starters. I don't want to break them down just yet, but where does the Steelers in terms of trying to maybe putting a roster back together when you're looking at free agency? What are your initial thoughts?
Well, I mean, I haven't done a lot of research on this, but right off the top of my head, doing this for 30 plus years, I cannot remember a list that's this long. And in terms of just numbers, and you look at those names, I mean, there's a lot of significant names, starters, significant role players, special teams guys, most of the names, I won't say all of them, most of the names, I would describe them as significant players. Most of them were guys who got helmets on game days. And so, when you have a list that is that big, and includes those kinds of names, the forecast for the following season is, you can never sign everyone, even in, the most optimistic of off seasons when the list is a lot shorter and the cap is supposed to go up. I don't know that that's going to be the case with the salary cap this year. We're still waiting on that kind of news, but obviously that list proves that there's going to be a lot of change for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason.
Pursuit of following the loss in the wild card round, Cam Hayward said, "Hey, I could not be here next season." I think everybody realized when it ended that there is going to be a lot of changes. What are your thoughts just on that laundry list of guys?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Labs wholeheartedly. One thing I think that's going to be the prevailing factor in all this is the cap and the uncertainty with it. That could go a couple of different ways. I think Mike Tomlin could be taking at his word when he said, we look at our own guys and that's where we go shopping first. Their goal is always to retain as many as they can and then fill in where they have to with the veteran guys. But I'm with Labs. The sheer numbers are attention-getting because it's really atypical.
Well, if the other thing, too, is a name like TJ Watt is not on that list because the Steelers picked up the fifth-year option, but that is still somebody that you would like to keep a Steeler. So where are your thoughts just on this list and the others who aren't but still will play into the factor of what the Steelers do in 2021?
I have to agree with both these very learned gentlemen. This is a big ticket in the eye and coming up this offseason. I mean, how does the cap, does it shrink? Does it grow a little. But, all those things, they come into play. And simply put, TJ Watt is somebody that's got to be a high priority guy. I mean, he's one of the bell cows of the defense. And certainly you would think that they're going to have to go to some extra lengths to be able to sign him of the kind of quality contract that he's capable of drawing. And, for us to speculate on what that'll be, I know one thing, okay? I played offensive line because I only had to count to 3, all right? Because Bradshaw couldn't go on 4. So the fact is, this is the way we roll. You leave that to the bean counters. You got to get the people that you got to get. And I know that TJ Watt is bell cow number 1 you got to get to.
All right, 2 other factors going into what the Steelers do moving forward. Ben Roethlisberger and Maurkice Pouncey, that lasting image I think everybody has following the loss of them sitting on the bench together. Let's take a listen to Ben after the game.
I love that guy. He is one of the best competitors and teammates I've ever had. And it has been so much fun to share a football field with him. And I hate that it ended the way it did. And I just wanted to apologize to him that I wanted to win it for him.
Now, Ben does have one final year left on his contract in terms of housekeeping here. Maurkice Pouncey told Ramon Foster, who is now part of the media, that he is 50-50 on his retirement. So a lot of things could factor into what the Steelers do moving forward. But Labs, going back to that game, as painful as it was, Coach Tomlin called it disappointing, saying that, the sting was going to be there for a while. We are a few days removed, but where is your head at in terms of what happened at Heinz Field on Sunday night?
I kept thinking of, and Mike knows this incident in sports extremely well because one of his heroes, Kirk Gibson, was the author of it. But in that World Series, after Kirk Gibson came out of the training room and hit a home run in the bottom of the 9th of the first game of the World Series, the announcer, Jack Buck, said, "I don't believe what I just saw." And I kept thinking of that as that first quarter at Heinz Field unfolded. I mean, it just boggled my mind how the game was given away. I really can't think of a better way to describe it. I mean, the number of turnovers, the first one on the first play ended up directly on the scoreboard. 2 other interceptions in the first quarter. The Browns only need 3 plays on each of those after each of those interceptions to stick the ball in the end zone. That's 21-0 right there. I cannot really fathom. I could not fathom that happening. I still, and even though it's this far in the past, it's history now. I still don't believe what I saw.
Prisuta, we heard from Coach Tomlin yesterday. Minkah Fitzpatrick was the first player removed from the night of the game. And one of the things that he said that stuck out to me was that it was almost 100% mental. And of course, he was talking specifically about the defense. How does that happen when we have seen the great things from this team, especially going back to the earlier portions of the year when they were on that 11-0 run?
Yeah, I don't know. That's got to be high on the to-do list to figure that out. You mentioned that poignant picture of Ben Roethlisberger and Maurkice Pouncey sitting on the bench after the game. I've got a bunch of other ones that are emblazoned in my head. Robert Spillane getting carried into the end zone by Kareem Hunt. Vince Williams getting repeatedly blocked by J.C. Treader to the ground in one instance. Terrell Edmonds missing tackles in the open field. Austin Hooper standing with the ball in the end zone, and Minkah Fitzpatrick about 6 yards away with his palms up. What just happened here? Ben Roethlisberger throwing an interception on 1st and 10 from the 48-yard line. Just some things that we haven't seen either very little throughout the season or not at all, and they just kept happening, particularly early, but throughout the game. I didn't see it coming either. I didn't see it coming in the fashion that it came. And I guess you start there when you're looking for answers. How did this game play out in such a opposite manner to the vast majority of the regular season that preceded it? That's where I'd start anyway.
All right, Wolf, I know you went back and rewatched the game, so a few days removed from both live viewing and on demand. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
It took me back watching that game all over again. 31 years ago, I played in a game at Three Rivers on the first game of the season, home opener against the Cleveland Browns. And from the first play to the final gun, that game was out of control. That game in '89 made this past playoff game look like a nail biter. I remember being in the huddle and everyone was like going, what's going on? Because at every turn there was an interception coming the other way. Clay Matthews scored 2 touchdowns. As you tried to press harder and do more, you got worse and worse results and circumstances. It was incredible. And I remember as we were standing in the huddle and we're trying to come to grips with the look in the eyes of the other guys, everybody had that deer in the headlights look. Everybody was trying to solve what was going on. And the harder you tried to solve it, the worse you made it. That game was very, very similar to what I experienced in '89. And you simply watch this when you see, Vance McDonald is caught in between, all the other things as Mike talked about. He's blocking down, trying to help Chooks on Myles Garrett. He's also trying to help with Carl Joseph. He's up there and he's trying to block with Juju, trying to help him. He gets in between the two, and all of a sudden you got a blitz that gets into Ben's face, and Ben throws that first interception. And the unfortunate thing was they had a 6-play series where one of them was featured a nice 9-yard run by James, where there was actually, I'm thinking to myself, okay, if they can get a little equilibrium here after Pouncey snaps the one, into the end zone, maybe, we can get going here in that. But it just got worse. And that's the nature of the sport. If you play long enough, every now and then, and fortunately, hopefully for only once, maybe in a career, you're running one of those games where things get out of control and nobody's got an answer for what happened.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you joining me here today on the Extra Point to break it all down, look back. Of course, as Coach Tallman said, a lot of changes and things will be happening in the weeks to come, and we will have complete coverage of all of those for you. So that's going to do it for the Extra Point. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you next time.